Hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
He's trying to be a normal person.
Yeah.
But he's struggling with the fact that he was insanely famous when he was a kid.
Yeah.
That's
not something I would, I like seeing people become successful, but that's not something I would wish on somebody.
It all started when Justin Bieber shared a strange, uncomfortable story in an interview. He didn't name anyone, but the way he spoke, the hesitation, the look in his eyes, said enough. Fans quickly started piecing things together, and one name kept coming up: Diddy. Old rumors about private parties, mentorship offers, and young stars being pushed into shady situations began to resurface. That's when Joe Rogan stepped in and said what a lot of people were already thinking. On his podcast, he didn't hold back, bringing up all the past allegations tied to Diddy and connecting the dots. He talked about what might have happened to Bieber and how other young artists seem to share similar stories. To Rogan, this wasn't just gossip. It was a long-running pattern that no one's been brave enough to fully expose. But before we get into it, hit that subscribe button because this story is only getting deeper. Justin Bieber has been in the spotlight for most of his life, but in a recent podcast interview, he opened up like never before. He seemed tired, emotional, and deeply hurt as he spoke about things that happened to him when he was just a young teenager in the music industry. He didn't mention names directly, but it was clear that he was talking about powerful people he met as a child.
Zane Lowe 4 years ago, Justin isn't talking about the disgraced media mogul directly, but his past trauma in the music industry, his album Changes, and being a newlywed to wife Haley.
I think that I was just, living in this shame, living in all this sort of stuff of my past, and I wasn't able to move on.
Talk of the video comes after footage of Diddy and Justin also resurfaced on social media recently.
Not anyone could just be in the position that I'm in.
Video shows Diddy alongside teenage Justin, leaving people to speculate if, at the time, he subjected the pop star to his alleged freak-offs.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time.
You're gonna hear about my party, they're gonna be shutting them down, they're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we wanna have a good time.
During the Zane Lowe interview, Justin breaks down in tears.
According to people who say they used to work with him during his early career, Bieber was often taken to big Hollywood parties where adults acted in ways that made him feel very unsafe. One former team member said the parties were full of older men, drugs, and alcohol, things no 15-year-old should be around. One of the names that keeps coming up is Sean Diddy Combs. A former insider claimed Bieber met Diddy at one of those parties, and the vibe was strange. Bieber was quiet, nervous, and clearly uncomfortable. At that time, he was told to smile, be polite, and do what was expected of him, even if he didn't feel right about it. Looking back, fans are now re-watching old clips, like a 2009 video where Diddy said he was going to hang out with Bieber for 48 hours. Back then, people thought it was just a joke, but now, with new stories coming out, that clip feels very different and very disturbing.
Yeah, so as soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come to LA. Yeah, this gonna be yours. So every time you come to LA, it's a little dusty, but you know, come get the front shot of this.
Man.
Minute.
Woo. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna be driving this next year.
Yeah, when you get 16, you come down there, you gotta, wear your seat.
I mean, I'm 15. You could ride in the passenger seat. I got my permit. No.
Over the years, Bieber's behavior changed a lot. He got into fights with paparazzi, was arrested for drag racing, and even had angry outbursts toward fans. Many people thought he was just another spoiled celebrity, but now it seems like something much deeper was going on. He wasn't just acting out, he was angry, scared, and trying to deal with the pain he had kept hidden for years. In his recent interview, Bieber talked about feeling alone and confused during his early tours. He said he often felt like nobody really cared about him as a person. People around him were focused on money, fame, and success, not his safety or well-being. Some nights, after performing for thousands of fans, he would go back to his hotel room and cry. He didn't understand what was happening to him, and he felt powerless. One of the most heartbreaking parts of the interview was when he explained that he's scared for other young stars, especially Billie Eilish. He said he sees some of himself in her, a young, talented artist who became famous too fast and is now surrounded by adults with power. Bieber said he reached out to Billie in the past to offer his support because he doesn't want her, or any other young artist, to go through what he went through. He talked about how the industry often treats kids like products. Once they stop making money, people move on. That kind of pressure, mixed with the trauma of being exposed to dangerous situations at such a young age, can leave deep scars. He said he still has nightmares and sometimes struggles to trust even the people closest to him. Even his marriage to Hailey Bieber has been affected. While she's been a strong support for him, Bieber admitted that his past still comes up and causes problems in his personal life. He's working through it in therapy and trying to heal, but the damage from those early years doesn't just go away. Adding to all this, reports of trouble in his marriage have recently surfaced. Every other day, a new news began to leak that the couple might be heading for a divorce.
Justin Bieber is sharing a cryptic message about love as split rumors with wife Hailey Bieber spread. On Instagram, the Peaches singer posted these black and white photos with the caption, "Tired of transactional relationships. If I have to do something to be loved, that's not love." And this was not the first time Justin, who has been married to wife Hailey Bieber since 2018, expressed his desires for unconditional love. In May, he posted this ChatGPT search that reads, "Give me a short answer. If you tell someone who doesn't understand inherent worth they deserve love, could it confuse them more?" The answer given was yes. It can confuse them because deserve sounds like something you earn, and if they don't feel worthy, it won't make sense. Justin added his thoughts to the screenshot, saying, "Love isn't a you get what you put in kind of thing. It's a receiving thing. Still find myself trying to learn love, and it's exhausting. I'm loved no matter what I do."
Neither Justin nor Hailey has confirmed anything, but fans noticed that the two have been appearing separately at events and posting fewer photos together. Some sources close to the couple say that Justin has become more withdrawn and emotionally distant in recent months. People around him say he's deeply disturbed, not just by the growing attention on his childhood, but also by the pressure of trying to hold his adult life together while still carrying the pain of his past. The timing of his emotional breakdown and the divorce rumors has led many to believe that everything is finally catching up with him. More people are now starting to speak up, including others who were part of his early tours or worked behind the scenes. Some of them say they saw things that felt wrong but were too afraid to say anything at the time. As far as Diddy is mentioned, he has been surrounded by disturbing stories for decades, stories that many in the industry whispered about but few dared to say out loud. What once lived in shadowy gossip circles has now exploded into public view. Lawsuits, victim statements, leaked footage, and insider confessions that all point to something far darker than anyone imagined. One of the most alarming parts of Diddy's alleged behavior is the extreme control and manipulation he reportedly used behind closed doors. Several former associates have described him as someone who thrived on dominance, psychological, and even physical. It wasn't just about parties or fame, it was about total power.
And what happened next? He basically started threatening me with human trafficking, and that they could take me anywhere and sell me. He had Christina Coram. He ordered her to insert a copper IUD into my, but luckily it deployed before she could actually get it inside me, like inside the cervix. And that's when Sean Combs got extremely angry and he grabbed the TV remote and sexually assaulted me vaginally with the remote extremely violently.
Witnesses have said Diddy would allegedly record people in compromising situations, using those videos as leverage. This wasn't just perversion, it was blackmail. His freak-off parties became infamous among insiders for their twisted nature. People who attended claimed they were more like rituals than parties. filled with drugs, surveillance cameras, and people being pushed past their limits. It wasn't uncommon, they say, for Diddy to isolate guests, feed them substances, and then pressure them into things they didn't consent to. Even worse are the reports involving young male victims.
Can you believe this 6-year-old boy was once a guest at Diddy's infamous white party? The disgraced mogul has his arm draped around a young Justin Livtowski back in 1999. Justin is now 31 and tells Inside Edition about taking that photo.
He put his arm around me in an uncomfortable way, close to areas that you shouldn't as a grown man.
He recalls what he saw at the party.
So I remember marijuana and topless women. That's the two main things that I remember.
So, how'd he end up there? Well, his father, David Allen, was Diddy's photographer, snapping pictures of partygoers in the Hamptons. Justin's mom, Maya, was also there. She says the party was family-friendly at first, but then turned raunchy.
People were getting high. There were girls swimming topless, young-looking girls that were, not dressed. We moved to another part of the house so that he wouldn't be exposed to what was going on.
In later years, Diddy implemented a curfew for children.
The kids have like an hour left.
Allegations of rape have surfaced. Violent, traumatizing encounters described by victims who say they were too scared to come forward for years. Some of these cases allegedly involved threats, payoffs, or both. Behind the luxury lifestyle and public image, many claim Diddy was running a private world of abuse, fueled by addiction, sex, and intimidation.
And at the time, she was only 11 years old when she was kidnapped and drugged with jelly beans and flown on a private jet to New York. And that picture with the girl on Diddy's lap with the D&G sweater, that's her. She's 11 years old in that picture. They put those clothes on her. They did her makeup.
There's a reason multiple former employees and artists under his label have distanced themselves or spoken out. Some called him paranoid, abusive, and deeply unstable, suggesting he was caught in a spiral of self-destruction masked by money and power. Now, coming to Joe Rogan, he's never been one to stay quiet when things get dark in the entertainment world. He's always had that outsider voice, someone who doesn't rely on Hollywood circles and isn't afraid to call out powerful people. And now, as more disturbing claims against Diddy pile up, Joe's reaction hits harder than most. He didn't just react like someone reading headlines. He's been around that world, even if he isn't part of it. He's interviewed people from all sides: musicians, fighters, whistleblowers, survivors. He's heard enough stories over the years to know when something's deeply wrong. But this situation with Diddy, even he admitted, it's different. What caught people's attention right away was Joe casually revealing that he had actually been to Diddy's house years ago. It wasn't some secret or private party, but it left an impression. Back then, he said, something about it just didn't feel right. The house was big, the people were rich, but the vibe was off. Looking back now, with everything coming out, that uneasiness makes a lot more sense. Rogan has always talked about how the biggest names in the industry, whether it's someone like Ellen DeGeneres or Beyoncé, are part of a bigger system. He's questioned the perfect images they sell to the world, and how those smiles often hide toxic environments, weird behavior, or worse. He's brought up how strange it is that the same names keep circling around major scandals, yet nothing ever really sticks to them. He's not saying they're all guilty, but he's saying they're all connected. And Diddy, in his view, is at the center of a huge web that has been protected for far too long. These latest lawsuits, which describe everything from sexual assault to trafficking to years of manipulation, didn't shock Joe. They confirmed what he and others have been hinting at for years. It's not just about one man doing horrible things. It's about a system that lets it happen over and over again. Young stars were thrown into this world without real protection. People like Justin Bieber, who entered the industry as a kid, were surrounded by adults with power and money, but not good intentions. Joe mentioned how these young celebrities are groomed early, isolated from their families, and told to trust the wrong people. And now we're seeing the result.
There's so many horrific accusations though involving young singers, children.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It's insane.
He makes R. Kelly look like a decent guy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
It is crazy. And meanwhile, the guy was like hanging out with Oprah, hanging out with Obama,
Jay-Z,
everyone.
He spoke with real frustration, not just about Diddy's alleged behavior, but about how long it took for people to speak up. These stories weren't hidden. There were rumors for years. Clips, interviews, jokes that didn't seem so funny. Joe pointed out how a lot of people in Hollywood probably knew. They saw things, heard things, maybe even warned each other, but nobody came forward publicly until now. That silence to him is just as sick as abuse. And it's not just the people involved in the parties. It's the agents, the lawyers, the label execs, the managers, the people who benefit from an artist's fame while ignoring the damage being done behind the scenes. Joe's talked about that before too. That some of the darkest stuff in Hollywood isn't hidden in shadows. It's standing right in front of us, but nobody dares say anything until it's too late. He also warned that Diddy won't be the last. When one powerful person falls, others start getting nervous. More victims start speaking out. The circle gets wider.
I think there's so many fucking powerful people that are on those lists. There's so many powerful people that went and partied. Air quotes, partied. And how many of them went to the Diddy parties? Have you been paying attention to the trial?
Oh, yeah.
Trials. Wild.
Why don't they air it the same way they aired the coverage that
Johnny
Johnny Depp got?
I know. Why don't they? I don't know. They should. The ratings would be amazing.
Unreal.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Why wouldn't you air that?
He thinks there are still more stories to come. More names, more lawsuits, more truth. Now Joe didn't hesitate to draw a deeply unsettling comparison between the allegations against Diddy and the disturbing legacy of Jeffrey Epstein. While he didn't claim Diddy was directly involved with Epstein's known trafficking network, he made it clear that the patterns surrounding both men look alarmingly similar. This wasn't speculation for entertainment. It was a serious attempt to contextualize the kind of abuse of power that can flourish behind wealth, fame, and secrecy.
The rumors are that Diddy was running some kind of Epstein type deal where he was filming everybody, right?
That's the rumors, yeah. I don't know that there's any proof or anything other than that.
The thing is, like, we're getting the rumors from the internet, and the internet thinks that the Taliban took out that bridge in Baltimore. So it's like, who fucking knows? Who knows what's real?
That's what Diddy's lawyers, I think, said. It was like, that these are just trumped up charges. Not trumped up, I don't think they said that, but like bullshit charges.
Dude, when Homeland Security invade your house,
you got problems
with dudes with fucking guns and body armor. There's
someone said that they weren't there to take stuff; they were there to delete everything. Like the real people that were in there,
Oh,
like
that's
the same
funny.
thing with Epstein.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
that's fun. Of course, there's layers upon layers. When you get into these fuck.
Diddy, according to the allegations, allegedly used his celebrity status, control over young artists, and extravagant parties to gain influence over people, particularly those who were young and new to the entertainment world. The parallels became hard to ignore. Both reportedly surrounded themselves with impressionable individuals, dangled opportunities, and used private environments to isolate and manipulate. Understanding the full weight of this comparison requires a clear look at what Epstein actually did. Epstein was a billionaire financier who operated in elite social circles, rubbing shoulders with world leaders, business moguls, royalty, and celebrities. Behind the scenes, he built a vast trafficking operation that targeted underage girls. Many were recruited under the pretense of offering modeling opportunities or financial support, only to find themselves trapped in a system of sexual abuse, manipulation, and coercion. These young women, many of them from vulnerable or low-income backgrounds, were flown to Epstein's properties, including his infamous private island, Little St. James, and his New York mansion. Victims testified that they were assaulted not just by Epstein, but by powerful associates he brought into his inner circle. Some survivors reported being passed around to others, effectively treated as commodities within a closed, elite network. One of Epstein's most disturbing tactics was how he used blackmail. He allegedly recorded encounters in private rooms equipped with hidden cameras, keeping footage that could later be used as leverage against both victims and other high-profile individuals. This wasn't just abuse, it was systemic control, designed to silence and protect the people involved. Even after Epstein was first convicted in 2008, he received what is now widely viewed as a shockingly lenient plea deal. He served only 13 months in a Florida jail, and even that sentence included work release that allowed him to leave for up to 12 hours a day. The fact that someone with credible allegations of trafficking minors could receive such light punishment raised serious questions about how deeply protected he was. Years later, when new investigations reopened the case and led to his 2019 arrest, the public began to see how far his connections reached. But before he could stand trial, Epstein died in jail under suspicious circumstances. Officially ruled a suicide, but surrounded by failures in protocol and unanswered questions that only fueled more speculation. His death closed the door on justice for many of his victims and ensured that the full extent of his network might never be revealed.
And it was his determination that it was a homicide because of the way his neck was broken. And what he said was it was indicative of a ligature strangulation. And it was because of the positioning on the neck where the marks were, that it wasn't indicative of someone hanging by their weight, which had been higher on the chin. And there's a specific break of the bones and the vertebrae that's consistent with someone who is just strangled to death.
I haven't seen it. I'll definitely take a look at it because that's part of my job.
You haven't seen that?
The report on that? No, I haven't looked at that.
Did you see any, was there any other autopsy done other than the official one?
Not to my knowledge, but if there was, you'll get it.
This is the shadow Rogan sees hanging over the current allegations against Diddy. The point isn't that the two men are identical, but that they allegedly operated within systems that allow powerful people to abuse without consequence. Like Epstein, Diddy is accused of using parties to lure people in, manipulating those with less power, and allegedly keeping compromising materials to ensure control. Rogan raised concerns about how many others might be part of this kind of environment, people who weren't necessarily the abusers themselves, but who allowed things to continue by turning away. As with Epstein's case, it's not always about who directly committed the crimes, but about who knew and stayed quiet. The worry wasn't just about Diddy's individual behavior, but the larger pattern that shows how some people are shielded from consequences because of their connections, status, and influence. What's more disturbing is that the alleged behavior didn't take place in secret compounds or private islands. It happened in elite social settings, luxury homes, and Hollywood circles. That kind of abuse, hidden in plain sight, can be even more insidious because it becomes normalized. Young artists may feel pressure to comply, to stay silent, or to believe that what they're experiencing is just part of the business. Rogan appeared to see Diddy's situation as potentially the beginning of something bigger, much like Epstein's exposure led to deeper investigations and broader implications. There's a sense that more stories may emerge, that what's being revealed now is only scratching the surface. Now, more and more disturbing stories about Diddy have come out recently, and Joe Rogan didn't just focus on the entertainment side of things. He brought up something even bigger: how powerful people often stay protected because of politics, friendships, and money. And in this case, the silence from celebrities and politicians has been loud. Rogan pointed out something strange. Many celebrities who are usually quick to speak out about abuse, injustice, or scandals have said almost nothing about Diddy.
It's just amazing how many people on the Diddy party list that are supporting Kamala. Too.
Yeah, seriously, it's like insane.
Publicly, openly, all in.
Yes, it's like J-Lo was like his ex-girlfriend, and it's like now deciding she's like warning people against Trump. I'm like, well, wait a second. So how many people did she warn against Diddy?
Right.
Oh, 0. Okay.
Right.
Well, maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion.
These are the same people who constantly post online about doing what's right, holding people accountable, and supporting victims. But when it comes to Diddy, they're quiet. Over the years, Diddy has supported Democratic candidates, attended political events, and spoken up on important social issues like racism and voting rights. He's tried to show the world that he's more than just a rapper or businessman, that he cares about people and wants change. That sounds good on the surface. But now, with all the lawsuits and horrible accusations being made against him, some people, including Rogan, believe Diddy may have used that image to protect himself. Being seen as a good guy who fights for justice makes it harder for people to believe, or even want to believe, he could have done terrible things. And that's the real problem. When someone with political power and big-name friends is accused of abuse, people often stay silent. Not because they don't believe the victims, but because they don't want to risk their own careers or reputations. But now Rogan's asking the question no one wants to touch. Was all that political work just a cover? Was Diddy really trying to help people, or just building a public image strong enough to hide behind? We might not know right now, but the cracks are starting to show. And if what's coming out is only the beginning, things could get a lot darker. That's it for today's video. But what do you think? Will Diddy face the same fate as Epstein, or is there still more ahead for Justin? Let us know in the comments. We're listening. If this hit you, show some love. Drop a like, share it, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because this story, it's far from over.